Hello there, Ray here. We got a brand new snapshot today for the Java edition, and this is 25W16A. And as you can see, we can now carry cargo with HappyGast. It's now possible to put a leash between two mobs without having to have the player at all. The way you do this is first you use a lead on one mob, then you will have to crouch and use the lead on the second mob, and then this will put the lead in between them. There's always a main mob which you start with, and then there's a mob that will get the end of the lead. So you can also do the opposite. So I can start with this guy here, and then I can give it to this guy. But once you go both directions, you can't add any more leads. If I do try to add a lead, it's going to then remove the previous one from this guy. And if I use it on it again, it's going to remove that. And then once again, if I use it on this guy, it's going to then move it to me. And then if I use it again, it's going to drop. Now, once you do have a mob and lead, you can't put the lead back on itself. It's just going to drop even if you crouch and place it on there. But this means you can put mobs directly onto other entities like our HappyGast over here. If I crouch and click onto there, now this mob, the cow, is attached to the HappyGast. Oh, that looks amazing. Oh, not only could that be super useful to transport your mobs from underneath rather than trying to hold them off to the side, as I've shown that is not very easy because the mobs themselves will push the HappyGast in the wrong direction that you're trying to go. But this also looks very cool as like a aesthetic, just maybe having this little guy hop up and down like he's on a big blimp. But now if we release him, we'll see this guy take off. Oh, there he goes. Okay, have fun, cow. It's like your own little personal amusement ride. Now, if you try to attach a lead to an entity that is too far away, and then try to place the lead onto this cow over here, you'll see it doesn't work because it would have broke, and instead of breaking, it just fails to be placed on there. So you have to do something that is close enough so they can actually attach without breaking. Now, the maximum distance which you can attach stuff without it snapping has been changed from 10 blocks away to a total of 12, so you can just reach a little bit further than what you normally could. But as you can see, there is some bugs, like I just happened to attach this guy to this fence here and made a leash, even though it is still attached to me. Now, the way they calculate this maximum distance has also changed. When calculating most distances between entities, it usually does it from the center of their feet to the center of the other person's feet. And this has been changed, so now it's actually the center of the mob to the center of the player. This makes it more accurate. It doesn't matter if you're below the mob or above the mob, it should be the same distance. But when it comes to pulling the HappyGast, the distance before it snaps has been even increased further. Before it was only 10 blocks, so you could sometimes accidentally snap it when transporting these guys. But now it's been increased all the way up to 16 blocks. You might have also noticed that the leads are now thicker. They're twice as thick, so they're just like Bedrock Edition. But they don't have the crazy wonkiness of moving mobs around like Bedrock Edition, luckily. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Now you can also snip the lead between two mobs. So if I just use a shear on this cow here, you hear the snipping noise. And the lead fell, so it's in this guy's pen right here. This will snip it from both entities. Otherwise, you can remove it just by using another lead on them, which would replace the previous one, which also dropped, and then using lead on it again to remove that one. But we can also automate this lead snipping. So if we come in and put some shears into a dispenser that has an entity that is at least the one block that's in front of it, you can see his little hitbox collides with it. And we go ahead and activate the dispenser. You see it'll snip off and drop it right there. Now, they also mentioned that when you do have something on a leash, other players can't come in and actually use their leash to steal the mob from you. Now, this wasn't a mechanic before, so I'm not sure why they mentioned it. Maybe it was a problem when it comes to these double leading situations. And I only know this because this happened to me where somebody was trying to steal my mob, and the way they would do it is they would put a boat in front of you. Your mob would end up getting pulled into the boat, and this would immediately remove the lead, and then they would come in and use their lead to steal your mob and continue with it. But this does apply when it comes to the shears, as other players who have shears can't use them on a mob that you are using with your lead to shear off your lead so they can put on theirs. So they also changed how you interact with fences or fences that already have leads on them, like this one here. So if you have something that's on your lead and you right click this, it doesn't matter if it's a fence or a fence with a lead, it's automatically going to take your entities that are on the lead and apply them to the fence. But if a mob is too far away from the fence and you try to attach it to a fence post or one that already has leads on it, when you try to right click, it will fail. You can hear it. But if you have no mobs that are on a lead to you, and then you click on a fence that already has leads onto it, you can see it will automatically redirect all the mobs to now be attached to you. This is really nice compared to before when you right click this it would just remove the leads from all entities and they would just start moving about and you'd have to regather them up before they would all run away. Now you don't have to worry about that. They automatically are attached to you and you can start moving them to your next destination. And like before, the actual entity, which is this little knot you see here, if it would lose all the entities that are actually using it, it will immediately be removed as well. This is different than before. When you would kill this mob, it would take a while for it to actually despawn. And sometimes you would even end up with glitch fence posts that look like they had this leash knot entity attached to them, but they really didn't. Another new feature is that we can now crouch and click onto the fence post with the leads. And this will always attach whatever mobs that we have to the fence without having to worry about accidentally pulling these guys off of it and attaching them to ourselves. I really like this whole crouching and clicking thing. It gives us so much more possibilities to do things in the game. And a lot of times they avoid adding extra keys because of all the mobile players, but since we're already using the crouching mechanic so much in the game, it's really cool to see it added to other areas. Now, besides using the shears directly on the entities to remove their individual leads, you can also just use the shear directly onto the fence, and this will dismount all mobs that are connected to it. You can see it did a little bit of durability to the shears. Or you could come in and just punch the knot, and this will also dismount all mobs hooked to the fence. But they came out with a special feature specific to Happy Gas when it comes to mobs. So now when you attach any mob that's the same size of a boat or bigger to a Happy Gas, and if we go ahead and shift right click it, you can see it doesn't just look like a normal one lead attaching to the gas, but instead it actually is connected to all four sides. It looks just like the piglins that are riding the gas in a Minecraft movie. And of course you could be riding the gas yourself so that all the entities underneath of it are also being moved with you. This looks so crazy. The only problem is if the player tries to ride in the boat, they will now take control of the boat, and this will cause them to make the boat fall out of the sky. And this has to do with the client versus server side. So unfortunately you can't have a player riding in the boat while also having the gas floating about. Now this only applies to entities that can already accept leads. You can't put like a lead onto a minecart, but you can use this to string entities together. So you can make like really long caravans with mobs hooking to each other or even boats attached to each other. And of course we can add the whole caravan thing from these boats down here to the gas, and let's go ahead and take a look at what that looks like. There goes the gas with the main one getting pulled underneath and then the other one's attached to that one. We got a cow in this one. Oh my goodness, you can do some pretty crazy stuff. And this applies to any mob that is bigger than a boat. So here we got a camel. Let's go ahead and watch the camel get pulled about. So the four corners of gas are being attached to kind of the four corners of the actual mob. This does look so much more secure than just a single lead pulling up these really big mobs. Now, just like when you add a harness to the gas, it changes the visuals on the outside of it. This also changes when you add one of these bigger mobs onto it. Notice there's extra bracing, so we got these extra little lines coming off of the harness, coming down around the edges here, and then of course we got the visual leads that are attaching to it. This makes it look like it's actually attached to the harness rather than actually like attaching itself to the gas. And the leads that come off the gas will consistently be taut, meaning that they will always be really straight and connected directly to the camel. They're not going to be like really wobbly like we have it when the player attaches to stuff. You can see it just kind of moves all over the place and the length can kind of change. Here you can see it's always straight lines going from the gas to the mob. This means we can attach our storage directly to the Happy Gas, which is great. So if you're out on an adventure, you can carry extra storage in your boat chest. Now leave a like on the video. Now all these changes to transportation is going to help with quite a few things in Minecraft, not only getting rare mobs back to your base, but also use it to get different advancement where you need a bunch of different unique mobs. They also fixed gas on leads so they won't do this constant spinning, and you'll no longer get kicked from servers thinking that you are using some type of fly hacks when you're just riding a Happy Gas. They also fixed the bug that I talked about last week where if you were in spectator mode over top of a gas, it wouldn't move because it thought you're still standing there. But if we go ahead and try now, you'll see that spectator players will no longer be able to grief gas by stopping them from moving. They did say they also improved how mobs physics will work, especially when the entity that is being on the leash is not actually on the ground, like you are moving it through the air, transporting it with our Happy Gas. It's less likely to get all wonky and break off. This includes when the mob is being pulled by the person who has the lead. They should face towards the direction they're being pulled. But they did break it so you can't really use your Elytra with a mob and a leash. So now whenever using a Elytra and a rocket while having a mob lead, it will instantly break the lead, as they purposely made it so that any leads you have connected to you will automatically break whenever you're in Elytra mode and a rocket is used. But you could still, set off with your Elytra just by flying from somewhere high and then pulling the mob behind you. Although it was very difficult to actually fly with rockets and pull a mob with a leash at the same time, just because the mob would end up getting so far behind you it would break. It was still possible to do it, but it's very difficult as when you started, you had to go really slow by going back and forth. But with this change now, it's impossible to do, like I said, unless you fall first. But they probably did this on purpose to try and encourage people to use happy gas in order to transport mobs rather than using an elytra. They should have just left this in the game because it was so difficult to do to start with, and it was also very inconsistent. Most people didn't even attempt it. But what do you think? Do you think they should have removed this? Now, speaking of elytras, you can no longer accidentally activate a rocket against a block when you're flying, which means you no longer have to look straight up when activating your rockets, but instead you can actually look straight down as well, and it will still cause you to fly. This is really nice, so when you're like flying around in tight areas and you're trying to boost your player with a rocket, you don't want to accidentally just right-click it up against some block and cause the rocket to just be placed onto the block and have it go flying upwards and not actually boost you. This is definitely going to let people use elytra more in a lot smaller places. They also reverted change related to nether portals that they made earlier in the year. And that is, as you can see, the nether portal itself, when you highlight it, it's only a really thin block. Yet entities could get teleported as long as they were anywhere inside of this entire 1 by 1 meter block. So an item that would land right here could still get teleported despite it not actually touching this very small hitbox. Now this is just the way how nether portals were, but they thought this was a bug, so then they shrunk down the actual teleporting area to make it only the size of this very small thin little box here, which had other problems where if you would try to slide entities into the portal, they wouldn't always reach the very center block and therefore they wouldn't get teleported, or if you try to push in different mobs, they would get close to it but they wouldn't teleport. So even though it makes sense that it should only teleport you if you're touching this really small box, there were just way too many things that were broken because of this, so they decided to go back and change it the way it was before. So once again, we can have this nice easy teleporting just by barely touching the portal and not having to go directly inside of the actual block. This will make the variety of my nether portal farms work once again, as well as the trick I discovered with nether portal chunk loading using different entities. Now, because Java is also going to get the vibrant visuals eventually, they have been making some changes in the snapshots related to shaders and post-process effects. Now, they did warn us that their changes to this is going to affect the pre-existing shaders that people made using resource packs. So this could break the shaders that a lot of people use, but they do say they want to add support for these alternative shaders in the future. They also came in and fixed a whole bunch of different bugs. Most of them were visual bugs or ones that were accidentally introduced in the last few snapshots. Now come watch me test this all out over at my Twitch live stream, and I'm probably live streaming right now if you're watching this video, and you can find that link in the description. I'll see you over there. Bye bye.